This is the Tree of Life, Season 10, Chapter 3. In this episode, we will be elaborating on the relativity of parsimony. To start off, in Season 9, Chapter 9, we talked about how parsimony, within the conjoined consensuality, is distinct from that for the individual. In that example, for the individual seated at a table, parsimony preserves path 2, which is the non-convoluted path. Whereas, for the conjoined consensuality, parsimony preserves path 1. To return to the example in Season 9, Chapter 7 and Season 9, Chapter 9, where person A is seated at a table. Person B enters the room and follows path 1, leaving a post-it note on the table before sitting down opposite him. Or path 2, going directly across the room and seating opposite him. From this example, we can see that parsimony for the individual is relative to spatial path. Which is to say, that the path chosen for the individual is the one which is the spatially simplest path from point A to point B, whilst for the conjoined consensuality, parsimony is relative to time. Which is to say, because path 1 lacks nonlinear displacement events, it represents the most parsimonious path in the arrow of time from point A to point B. From this we can see the following. The relationship between the arrow of time and space is elastic. Now, if we return to the example in Season 9, Chapter 4, which involved negation of an impulse and departure from path parsimony through a substitution event, we can see that the relationship between causality and the arrow of time is elastic. Which is to say, that the substitution event represented by the example in that episode, i.e. from point C to point D, involves a loop in causality, where point D is the cause of C, rather than the other way around. From all of this we can say the following. Nonlinear displacement events represent some elasticity between causality and the arrow of time. Nonlinear substitution events represent some elasticity between the arrow of time and spatial dimension. Henceforth, we shall call the parsimony associated with the conjoined consensuality, time parsimony. We shall call the parsimony associated with an individual, path parsimony. That's the end of the podcast for today.